I'm a little bit taller than Callie, so I'll move the microphone back up a little bit. Now, I told y'all that I was excited about that panel, and the number of questions we got about it shows that you were too. So really, really glad y'all got to hear about that. To close us out today, we have we're going to take it from what happens within the school to what happens next for students as they enter college, as they enter technical training, as they enter the workplace. And there's no better person to lead that discussion than a longtime friend of ours, Mark Peevy, an assistant commissioner with the Technical College System of Georgia. And he's going to introduce his other two panelists. But please welcome all of them up to the stage now.
We understand that we stand between you and Atlanta traffic, so we will do our best to make sure we're on time here. I personally am going to get out of the way as quickly as I can because I've got two really smart gentlemen up here with me who are going to really have a chance, I hope, to help you get some understanding about what Georgia's doing to connect students to what's next. And I think that's the important piece that we really wanted to talk about today. I do have Brian Cooksey with me, who, for those of you who don't know Brian, he technically works for Shaw Industries, although I would say in many cases, if you know his work, he works for all of us as the state of Georgia. He is probably in my opinion, the most dedicated industry individual I've seen in terms of being connected. He supports 4 or 5 college and career academies. He's taken the lead in developing high school level curriculum that supports his industry work. He is just a super champion for connecting kids to what's next. And then we get a chance to hear and talk to Dr. Roger Lotson with, if you're not familiar with what the Youth Challenge Academy does, both here and nationally, you need to be. And he's going to give you an opportunity to listen a little bit about what goes on there and what they do there to really help a subsection of students who have got some challenges in life but can be as successful as anybody else in this room or in the state. So tremendous set of opportunities. So we are going to talk about connecting students to what's next. And I'm going to run through a few things to do that and understand kind of how important that is to us in the state of Georgia. If you look at this unemployment outlook that we're looking at here, this really begins to speak to the types of economic development opportunities, the types of workforce development needs that the state of Georgia has between now and 2025, roughly. And you see that middle skill job number is where the vast majority of skills are in the state of Georgia that we've got to have in place. And what that really speaks to is that as important as high school graduation is these days, if that's where we drop kids off, if that's where we leave them, we're leaving them short. Because the vast majority of jobs that are out there and that are coming all require something beyond a high school degree. It may be a technical college certificate, it may be a PhD on the other end of that. And so it is vitally important that we work hard to connect folks to what's next. That's the economic outlook. That's where the employers are. That's where our business and industries are in terms of their needs. And whether we acknowledge it or not, all education really is a workforce development, economic development tool. My wife and I have 3 beautiful kids that we love an awful lot. She probably more than me sometimes. But as wonderful as they are, they got to get out of my house one day. And and I need them to be productive citizens. I need them to go find a solid job. I'd love it if it's just down the road and connected to one of my local industries where I happen to live in Walton County. But the point is, we need them to be useful, productive, engaging citizens. And that means getting out, supporting their families, getting jobs, paying taxes, doing all those things that we do. And there's roughly 500,000 high school students at any one given time in the public education system across the state of Georgia. We collectively need every one of those students to be connected to what's next so that they can, 2 years from now, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whenever that is, can be productive citizens. And so that's what's really important about that. How are we doing that in the state of Georgia? One of the ways that we do that, I'm just going to touch on a couple of them and then let these gentlemen talk. One of the ways we do that is through dual enrollment. So, there's roughly 40,000 kids, 43,000 kids across the state of Georgia that are getting that jump start, making that connection to a post-secondary opportunity while they're in high school. So again, critically important that they're doing that now. Out of that, the technical college system, we get a little over half of those, 26,000 or so in this past year. And about half of those, so roughly 14,000 or so, 14,000, are taking advantage of our technical program. So you've got students already in high school getting some skills that will hopefully lead them to a productive career down the road. So important to know that there's good work going on there. This map's important, I think, because too many times we are Atlanta-centric. And if you look at it's a little hard to see, but if you just look at a lot of the darker orange and red colors, that's where the concentration of dual enrollments are. So you see that although there's a lot right around the heart of Atlanta, if you look down in South Georgia, and across the bottom two sections of the map, that's where so much impact is being made with dual enrollment. So we get students all over the state who need these opportunities, and they're being able to take advantage of some of them through dual enrollment now. We're going to talk a little about Georgia's college and career academies. I'm really going to leave that to Brian to talk about because he does such a good job supporting those. But those are an intersection of secondary, post-secondary education side connected to their local business communities. You see the colored spots on the map where we have those around the state. We at the technical college system manage a system of those that's now 43 academies. We'll have another 5 or 6 that we add to that mix here in the next couple of years. And so we really are working to fill that gap in because what we see there is a high graduation rate. We see high placement rates. Those two things are really inherently about connecting kids to what's next. So if you get a student who gets to get started on a technical program because they see how that's going to connect them to their ability to walk out of high school with a job in welding as an example, or you get that student who gets to get started on pick a medical career field while they're in high school and realizes I'm going to be a doctor and I got a jump start on that. It doesn't matter where on that spectrum you fall, they're all getting connected to what's next, and that's what's really important about those kinds of opportunities. We're going to talk a little bit about apprenticeships, and I do think we heard a little bit mentioned of internships here just a few minutes ago. Apprenticeships across the state of Georgia are growing rapidly. There's a little over 8,000 of those that are happening across the state right now. So it's a tremendous 71% growth in the last 6 or 7 years. The technical college system, that's becoming an even more important piece of what we do. So we're supporting almost 500 of those in the current year. That's going to grow. We see that happening, doubling itself in the next 4 or 5 years as we move forward. So important piece of what we do. So I think all of those are pieces where we are connecting students to what's next across the state of Georgia. That's the important part I think you'll take out of this conversation. So I'm going to bring Brian up, if you don't mind, Brian. He's got a few slides he's going to run through to talk about how really that Shaw is truly one of the biggest supporters of this idea of connecting students to what's next across the state of Georgia. So Brian, take it away.
Thanks, Mark. It's good to be here with you guys this afternoon. Thank you for sticking around and participating in this late afternoon session. I know everybody probably wants to get to their weekend, but it's a great, important topic that we're here to talk about today. And I work in industry. I work in manufacturing, and my job over the last 7 or 8 years has really evolved from being internally focused on our workforce needs at Shaw, trying to make sure our internal workforce has the skills that they need, to even more so being focused on what's coming next. Building those partnerships with our K-12 and post-secondary partners around the state that can make sure we're being proactive at looking at what the future pipeline of talent that is out there make sure they have the right skills, make sure they understand our career opportunities, and make sure that we're prepared for the jobs that we have and making sure that talent matches. It's an exciting time to be in manufacturing in Georgia. Manufacturing is a great place to be. That's one of our biggest challenges, though, is making sure that young people understand those careers. You can't really turn on a TV today and see manufacturing in action. You can see glimpses of it here or there. But unlike shows about how to be a doctor or a lawyer or a police officer or what have you, a lot of students don't understand jobs in manufacturing, and the image they have might be a little disconnected from what it is today. And even the image that a lot of our educators have is a little bit disconnected from what it is today. So that's part of my job, is going around and educating folks about what our opportunities are and what manufacturing is like. And the great opportunities it provides from a career opportunity standpoint, career advancement, from a pay and benefit standpoint, as well as things like tuition reimbursement that'll pay for your college so that you can grow in your skills and in your career without having college debt. And so it's a different approach if you want to pursue those skill needs than maybe the traditional route that you could go. So there's lots of great things about being in manufacturing, and it's exciting. And manufacturing in Georgia is growing tremendously right now. But our biggest challenge is going to be having the workforce that we need. And that's a challenge for all employers, large and small. And so if we don't solve this challenge in the state of Georgia and around the U.S., it's going to bottleneck us. But I can tell you there's some great things happening in our state that are starting to produce that talent that we need. And we've got to make sure we stay the course on those things and continue supporting those things and continue driving the innovation that's been happening to make sure that continues. I speak to a lot of groups across the state, a lot of teacher groups especially, and one of the things that I often share with them is this slide. And even when I talk to students, I start with a slide like this. And, I talk to them about how many of you would like to have this kind of offer as your first offer out of school. At least $40,000 a year in salary, benefits and retirement plan, 2 to 3 weeks paid vacation, tuition paid for by your employer, and lots of career opportunities that can help you grow in a lot of different ways. And when I ask them that, and I ask them to raise their hand if they would like that kind of an offer right out of school, almost everybody in the room raises their hand, especially if I'm talking to teachers. And then I reveal the last little bullet on the slide, which is all that's possible in manufacturing with only a high school education. And if you take advantage of the opportunities that Mark described with dual enrollment and some of those other opportunities that are available for certificate programs that are specialized training, you can start out even better than that. And that's not a bad way to start your career. And there's so many opportunities out there. We've got to help our young people understand there's great opportunities right here. I'm convinced that there's not a skills gap as much as there's not a talent gap. I'm sorry. There is a skills gap. There's not a talent gap. We have amazing young people in our state. We've just got to connect them to the jobs and make sure they understand that. The National Association of Manufacturing does surveys, and they've surveyed manufacturers around the country, and manufacturers have predicted that there's going to be a lot of job needs in our country. Certainly here in the state of Georgia, I can tell you my company right now has several hundred jobs that we can't fill right now in our part of really across the state, but certainly in northwest Georgia. But millions of jobs are going to be unfilled in manufacturing over the next decade, and a significant number of those jobs are going to be because of a skills gap that doesn't match up. People that aren't properly trained. And that's where the programs like Mark described, the college and career academies, the technical college system are really vital to making sure that we prepare those students for the right types of jobs and skills that they need. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of talent there and there's a lot of aptitude. Our state's invested in a tool called U-Science that excites me tremendously. It's a great aptitude tool that our high schools and middle schools have access to that gives students not only insight into what their interests are career-wise, but gives them insight and their parents insight into what their aptitudes are. And some of that data shows that we have amazing numbers of young people who have high aptitudes for STEM careers and careers in manufacturing that we have to get in front of. They're probably not thinking about those careers today, or maybe they don't know anybody that's been a successful female, for example, that they can go talk to about those careers. We can prepare them for those careers by matching them up with mentors, helping them understand that you can succeed in those careers. Maybe they're non-traditional careers for some of those young people, but they have amazing aptitudes and they can excel in those fields. So there's lots of talent there. We've just got to do a better job of matching it up and coaching those folks and preparing them for success. As I mentioned, our biggest challenge is the image of manufacturing, and most of the time when we talk to people and we ask them what they think of manufacturing, these are some of the things they tell us. They talk about, the old school thinking about manufacturing, maybe what it was like 30, 40, 50 years ago, the assembly lines, the dirty images that you see when you Google manufacturing on the internet. They talk about it's the jobs for people that can't go to college or the jobs for people that can't do other things. Jobs where you're going to get dirty and sweaty every day. Well, I work in manufacturing. I can tell you I get dirty and sweaty occasionally, and there's nothing wrong with that. I feel good when I do that every day because I feel like I've accomplished something. But there's a whole lot more time that I don't do that, but there are times when you are going to get dirty when you're working on a machine. But again, you're working in a totally different environment than most people think. And years ago, we often said as manufacturers, you had to be at least 18 to work in our companies. That's not the case today, but that image still exists in the minds of a lot of people, including the minds of a lot of manufacturers. And we're working hard to educate even manufacturers that students between 16 and 18 can work in manufacturing in our state. The laws allow that. You just have to be willing to bring them in, and you have to be smart, and you have to have a good plan. But you can bring in students that are 16 to 18 through programs like high school apprenticeships and things like that, and bring them in and help them learn the skills that they need to be successful. This is the reality of today's manufacturing. The plants are bright and clean. You can eat off the floor. In our company, you might get a little carpet fiber in your food if you ate off the floor, but hey, it's fiber. It might help you. But it's a clean environment. There's a lot of automation, a lot of robotics. We're focused on innovation and sustainability. We're constantly investing in new technology. Jobs of yesterday that required you to do physical labor, those jobs have now moved to where you're monitoring equipment, and you're making adjustments to the equipment based on what the computer is telling you, much more than you're using your physical muscles to do those things. There are still some jobs that are a little more manual, but most of our jobs are using computers and interfacing with technology much more than they are using their muscles. And yes, there are lots of jobs for women in manufacturing. Some of our best and brightest people are women, but we just need more of them. And I'm confident there are a lot of women out there today that can do these jobs and do them in a high level. We've just got to make sure to connect them and help their parents and those students understand those opportunities are there. And as I mentioned, students can work in manufacturing. In manufacturing, we need everything. We need high school grads, we need technical college grads, we need 4-year degrees, we need PhDs, we need it all. In my job, that's part of what I do, is to help us make sure we have the right workforce. And it's a challenge for us. We have jobs all over the state, we have jobs all over the country, all over the world. And those job needs change all the time. So we have to have partnerships that can adapt as our needs change. And that's the thing that excites me about our partnerships with things like our college and career academies. They can adapt very quickly as our needs change, and they work with us on a local level to respond to the things that we need. We don't have to implement a one-size-fits-all program that might be dictated from Atlanta. We can modify the things that we need to do or implement unique things to our needs in our local community to make sure that we have the skills that we need so students can hit the ground running, get a high-paying job, and be successful. And it's a win for everybody. It's a win for the school, it's a win for our community, it's a win for the student, it's a win for our company. Nobody loses, and that should be the types of partnerships we want to have across the state. Just a few examples. I know I don't want to take all the time. I can talk to you all day, but college and career academies are a key player for us. We have great partnerships in a lot of areas, and this is just one of them. But college and career academies, as I mentioned, provide those opportunities for business and industry to work with education hand in hand every day. I'm on the board of directors of several college and career academies. I'm the chairman of a couple of them as well. And I can tell you, we're right there every day. People ask me all the time, do I really work at Shaw? Because I'm in that school almost every day. You get to know the kids. You get to know what's happening. You get to challenge some things and ask questions. And that you get to understand some of the challenges that educators face as well. You get a better appreciation than probably you have when you're on the outside not having that inside information. But college and career academies also give us an opportunity, as I mentioned, to address our unique needs and help us educate educators on what our job needs are. Sometimes we find that they don't understand what our jobs are and what the needs are. So it gives us a chance to adapt curriculum, to write curriculum, to go in and speak to classes, to do those kind of things, to be innovative and to drive change to help everybody win. We have programs like Great Promise Partnership that we work through our college and career academies with, which provides at-risk students who are great kids. They're not bad kids. They're at risk of dropping out of high school because of socioeconomic challenges that they may face at home. But they're great kids with great talent. They just need an opportunity to earn some money, learn a skill, get on a path to a brighter future while still supporting their family. And there are hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of kids in our part of the state that need that opportunity. And it gives us a chance to bring them in, address some of our needs, and help them learn a skill and earn some money in exchange for doing good in school and staying on track for graduation. So we're being proactive to help that student who might otherwise be a statistic or go into a path that we have to address after high school that's harder to address, keeping them on track, helping them be successful. Again, it's a win for everybody. We do a lot of soft skills and employability skills training in our school systems, which is vitally important. Helping kids know how to shake hands, how to look you in the eye, how to be on time every day. That's a big issue. Got to be on time. And those types of things, they may not be learning in the home today. So somebody has to teach them, and there's an opportunity there to teach them that. And those things are vitally important. We do STEM summer camps for middle school kids through our College and Career Academy network to get even that younger generation thinking about the choices they're going to make when they get to high school. So they're making the right choices for choosing pathways to study in the career field, for choosing dual enrollment, those types of things. Seeing that manufacturing, for example, is a viable opportunity for them. We sponsor FIRST robotics teams throughout the state at the middle school and high school level. And that's an exciting thing because we get to put mentors with young people, and they're working with them every day during that build season to build up to 120-pound robot using real technology. They're solving problems. It makes our people better that are mentoring them because they're having to think on their feet and think about things they learned in college. But it also helps these young people see manufacturing is a great place for them because they have fun while they're learning. And these are after-school programs in a lot of cases. But these kids are dedicated. They're excited. They're passionate about what they're doing. And they're dreaming a little bigger because their world's getting opened up to things they didn't think about previously. We do teacher externships. We do all kinds of different things. This is just a small sample. And as Mark mentioned, apprenticeships are growing. There's several groups throughout the state doing high school apprenticeships through college and career academies. In Noonan, the Central Education Center, they've got a German model that's really taken off. In our part of the state, we also have a European-based apprenticeship model. Ours is based on a Swiss model because we had a Swiss company in our community, but we have had a consortium of businesses that came together from the flooring industry and other industries and talked about, we've got to change our practices in some ways. We've got to think differently about how we bring in talent. And so several years ago, we began talking about how can we overcome this 18-year age restriction that we all have always implemented. We started digging into the regulations and the government laws and the OSHA guidelines and the Department of Labor guidelines to see what is possible. And we found that in most cases, students can do things when they're 16. There are a few things they can't do. They can't drive a lift truck till they're 18, for example. Can't get around that. That's pretty cut and dry. But there's a whole lot they can do. And if a student takes a program in a college and career academy, a pathway, some of which we've designed, and they complete that pathway, they're eligible to get an apprenticeship with a company like Shaw. Our apprenticeships pay between $11 and $13 an hour. That's not bad while you're in high school. Now, you're not necessarily you're not necessarily making a production level, product or what have you. You're working as an apprentice. You're learning while you're in high school, but you're on your path to a career. You're getting mentored by somebody that might be about to retire in a few years, and they're passing on that knowledge. You're learning those employability skills that you need to have. You're getting coaching every day. You're getting hands-on experience that is valuable. And it's exciting for these young people because they're seeing applicability of what they're learning in school. They're applying the math and science that they're learning in school in these jobs. Sometimes it's hard for them to see a connection to those things without these kind of experiences. I can tell you we've got great young people working in our company. You can see some of the fields here. We've got them in our IT area. Manufacturing is IT too. It's not just the products that we make. We have logistics jobs. We have accounting jobs. We have marketing jobs. We have all kinds of jobs. And we're in the process now of finding apprenticeship opportunities in all of those areas, including manufacturing, but all of those areas of our company, because we've got to do a better job of changing our practices as well to get the different results that we need. We can't just simply wait on people to produce the talent for us. We've got to be in the game. And it's exciting to have that opportunity. We're appreciative for that opportunity and the partnerships we've built. We're starting to see results from that, and we're excited about the future. So look forward to talking more about that with you.
I think you can see why I just wanted to get out of Brian's way and let him go. There is probably, if the title of this portion of the day was education and business takes the lead, I think you just heard how just one of the prime examples in the state of Georgia in terms of Shaw itself and the flooring industry as a whole in Northwest Georgia, how they are really taking the lead from a business and industry perspective to connect with what's going on in the education world and really focusing it all on developing the workforce of the 21st century. So just a tremendous opportunity. Thank you, Brian, for that. I want to shift focus now a little bit and bring Roger into the conversation and give him a chance to talk to us. You know, all of the things that Brian talked about, the opportunities going on out there, there are invariably in my community, your community, students who are going to miss those opportunities for some reason or another. They've got different challenges going on in their life. Things are happening and they don't get a chance or are able to participate in some of these opportunities. You might call it falling through the cracks. You might call it whatever you want to. We all know those students. Some of those, we have them in our communities. What's important to me is that we need those kids to be as successful as any other students you might know. Your child, my child, doesn't matter. We need those kids to be as successful in the long run, to be that same successful, productive citizen a few years down the road that we need of every other one. And the Youth Challenge Academy and that program does a tremendous job of doing that. I'm going to turn it over to Roger, but I want to make sure you know, is it 42 states, Roger?
27 states, 40 programs.
Okay, there are 40 programs around the country, 27 states. Roger's not here by accident. He happens to be the 2018 National Youth Challenge Director of the Year, so he knows of what he speaks. And so, Roger, I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you, if you would, and just talk to us a little bit about Youth Challenge Academy. I don't know how many folks in the room know about it, but talk to us about what it is, you know, how students get there, what are the requirements, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Youth Challenge Academy is a federal program, as you just stated. It's in 27 states. It came about 25 years ago. A question was asked in Congress, what are some of the challenges facing the nation? One of the answers was the high school dropout rate. The state and the nation will always be indebted to the late, great Senator McCain, because he, along with our own Senator Sam Nunn, were the ones that wrote the legislation to allow youth challenges to come into existence. So 25 years ago, almost to the date, the first youth challenges opened, and Georgia was one of the first 10 pilot programs. Because of the great success down through the years, the program grew from the 10 to the current 40 programs. We've graduated more than 160,000 young people from youth challenges across the nation, and Georgia itself has graduated over 16,000. The slide up there represents two of the academies, but again, because of great success in Georgia, we now have 3 youth challenges within the state of Georgia. As I listened throughout the day, I heard about a number of problems that's facing not only Georgia but the nation. I just heard the speaker talk about the lack of jobs, individuals to fill those jobs. I heard about the high cost of medical care normally caused by individuals who do not have the right jobs to earn the sufficient funds to have medical care. I heard about the juvenile justice system and how a number of the young people fall into that, and on with the mishiring. A lot of those are caused by the young people that we are trying to catch. A while back, there was a motto that talked about, don't leave any child behind. But the reality is this nation has left a number of young people behind. And these are the young people that end up first in the juvenile justice system and then in prison. Who pays for it? We pay for it. These are the same in the young people that grow up and become adults and that have children that they cannot care for medically because they don't have the ability to get the jobs, to get that services. Who pays for it? We pay for it. These are the same individuals that may show up at a job interview and get hired, but because they do not have the skill set, they soon are fired. And now, again, thousands of dollars are wasted on the mishiring of these individuals. We catch them when they fall. We go out and seek those young people who are failing traditional school system, not because they're not smart, not because of any ability or lack of ability of their own. The judge talked about it earlier. Oftentimes they are traumatized early in life. I attended a recent conference that says that a child that's traumatized, they get PTSD as well. And because of what their environment or what they are victimized by society, they often fail. They often aren't able to succeed in the traditional school system. That's where Youth Challenge Academy. We're not trying to get the average young person that's in the school system. Most young people can go through high school and succeed, but there is a percentage that cannot succeed in a traditional school setting. And if Americans just ignore them, push them to the side, it's gonna come back and bite you later. It costs $91,000 to send a young person through YDC. It costs about $33,000 to send them through Youth Challenge Academy. The great thing about it is the federal government picks up 75% of that task, of that cost. So it really only costs the state of Georgia $8,000. Do the math. $91,000 for YDC, or send them to Youth Challenge for $8,000 of Georgia tax dollars. Youth Challenge Academy is a great bargain for the citizens of Georgia, not to mention the young people that come to this program. It is a military-style program, 6 months, 5.5 months residential. We put them mostly on a military base. 2 of the 3 programs in Georgia are on a military installation. 90% of the staff that interact with these young people are former military. I myself have retired 22 years in the Navy. I know most people I work with the Army, but I excuse that.
No offense. No offense. No.
But they're military people. The military does the best job of training young men and young ladies. So we take the military approach, basic training type approach. We wake them up at 6 o'clock in the morning and we teach them. We not just help them get their education. Because I tell the young people all the time, even if you graduate the #1 academic student in my class, and that's all you got from Youth Challenge, if that's all you got from high school, all that will often do for you, too, unfortunately, is make you the smartest person in the unemployment line. Because just because you have an education, you can get the job, but can you keep the job? And if you don't keep the job, where do you end? Back in the prison system. So we educate them on the academics, but we also teach them those soft skills that's necessary, how to get up in the morning. I tell people all the time, I'll put a graduate of Youth Challenge Academy against any high school graduate. A high school graduate tells a prospective employee that they can read and write. What it does not tell them is whether or not they can show up to work on time. It does not tell them whether or not they know how to say yes, ma'am, and no, sir. It does not even tell them they know how to pull up their pants on an interview. But Youth Challenge Academy teaches them all of those things and so much more. It teaches them how to say yes, ma'am, and no, sir, how to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, how to stay physically fit, and how to stay drug-free, because all of those things are part of our 8 core components. It teaches them leadership. Every young person that enters our program must fulfill the role of leadership at least 2 weeks. But most of them, the better students, they will hold a leadership position for up to the entire 5 months of the program. So when that young person graduates from our program, they are ready to succeed in life. And statistics, because Congress, they paying all that money. They want to know whether or not that money is being spent effectively. And so we must send a report to Congress every year telling them, what is Johnny doing? What is Martha doing 12 months after they graduate? And so 12 months after they graduate, 88% of our young people are doing something productive. Most of them have either decided to continue their education or they're in the workforce. About 5 to 10% go on and join the military. We have individuals that are owning their own business, individuals that were high school dropouts, individuals that society had almost cast to the side. These same individuals come to our program, graduate. Many of them get into dual enrollment, so they get some college credits on top of that. Because of our affiliation with Job Corps, Turner Job Corps specifically, they get vocational training. We have a partnership with Foothills Charter School to help them get their education. Same individuals that dropped out of high school come to our program and are able to gain 2.5 years of high school credits in as little as 6 months. There was nothing wrong with them. They were just in a wrong environment. When they come to Youth Challenge, we put them in the right environment and they become motivated. The same individuals that were skipping school, they go to school all day, and if I don't let them go to school over lunch break, they get upset. I will give them the opportunity to come back after school, and if I don't give them the opportunity to get upset, they volunteer. Please, 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 let me come to Saturday school, because they are hungry to finish their education. These are the young people that society often say can't succeed, but they come to the right environment with motivated individuals, instructors, staff, and these individuals thrive. We have individuals that a lot of people may not like this type of music. I don't either. But we got young people like Young Jeezy that came and graduated, now a multi-millionaire rap star. We have a neurosurgeon in Alaska that graduated from Youth Challenge Academy, and all in between. Youth Challenge Academy is a great investment, and we're so glad that our legislators and our governor specifically, because it was the governor's wife that brought the charter school system into the Youth Challenge program. Not only do we have the money that we have, the funds we get from the state and federal government, we have our foundation. They go out and raise funds, and they give us an additional $120,000 a year to send young people on to college or technical school. So I'll pause here.
I think I need to say amen or something. I'm not exactly sure what I need to do with that. Yeah, thank you. And you can see why this panel was an easy decision to say, let me get out of the way of both of these gentlemen, let them roll. But thank you very much for that. The passion that both of you bring is evident. So we've got a few minutes. If you guys have questions for us, if you would go ahead and be writing those down. A couple of things while we've got just 2 or 3 more minutes to touch base on. I want to ask both of you a couple separate questions. Brian, let me go to you first. You are a profit-making business. You, as much as you care for the students across the state of Georgia, Shaw does this and is focused on making a profit. So why is this so important to Shaw? And being involved in all the things you talked about, why is that so important?
Well, certainly it's in our self-interest to have a workforce. We can't make that profit. We can't serve our customers if and we can't stay in business if we can't make the products that we need to make, that our customers demand. So it's important for us. But our company is rooted in a philosophy as well. Our leaders established our vision many years ago to be one of focused on creating a better future. And we take that seriously. And our vision of creating a better future means, certainly for our company and for our associates that work in our company, but also for our customers and also for the communities in which we live and work. And so we look for things that benefit all of those factors. And this is one of those things that really is a no-brainer. It benefits Shaw in a lot of ways. It helps us find new talent. It builds loyalty. I mean, some of these young people that are being in our robotics programs or that we get to know through the college and career academies, they're apprenticing with us, they're proud of Shaw. They want those Shaw t-shirts. They can't wait to tell people they work at Shaw because they're loving their experiences. You can't buy that loyalty, So it gives us that opportunity to find a loyal future workforce. But it's also an investment because we know when our community is stronger, even if some of these folks don't stay with Shaw, if they are successful in our community and they stay in our community, they're going to make the overall community stronger. They're going to provide a stronger overall employment base for all of the companies in our community. And Shaw believes in helping the overall community be strong as well. So it's a win for everybody. So we may not keep 100% of these kids. We've even had to fire a couple of apprenticeship students that didn't work out. And personally, that's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But what a great lesson to learn when you're still in high school as opposed to later in life. And if we can get them on the right path because they maybe veered off the wrong way or made some bad decisions, even though we've coached them many, many times and gave them an opportunity to get back on track, that's what it's all about, is helping that future be better too. So certainly it's in our interest, and we've got to do things different. We have to think differently than we did in the past on our side, and we're challenged to be innovative, and that's not just in making products. That's in how we recruit, how we do our HR practices, all those things, and so how we train people. Another win for us is if these students come to us with skills already, that reduces the training time that we have to do as a company in-house. And I'm a training guy, but my CEO reminds me all the time, we're in the manufacturing business, not in the training business. So if I can spend 2 weeks training somebody instead of 10 weeks training somebody because they already come to me with the skills we need, that's bottom line impact for Shaw. So again, it's a win for everybody, but certainly a bottom line opportunity for us.
Thank you very much for that, Brian. Appreciate it. Roger, let's shift over real quick. I understand, and you've talked about Youth Challenge today, but I understand there's a related program called Job Challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about Job Challenge?
Yes, because of the great success that we've had with Youth Challenge across the nation, we were successful in getting funds from the Department of Labor for a pilot program for 3 years. There were only 3 states out of the 27 states, 3 states out of the 40 programs that were successful. Michigan, South Carolina, and of course, Georgia was able to get this special program. What it allowed us to do is these young individuals, after completing Youth Challenge Academy, they still wanted and needed more education so that we can fill those manufacturing jobs. And so we teamed up with Savannah Technical College and now Coastal Pines have now partnered with us. And we bring the young people back for another 5 months of residential program to enroll in a technical education so that once they leave, they not only have all of those other soft skills we talked about, and we continue to provide that to them, but they walk out with a technical college certification that will make them more valuable in the marketplace. And because that program was successful, the 3 years is now up, but they're finding the funds to make that program continue in the state of Georgia. And our tag, which the Youth Challenge program falls under the Army National Guard, the tag is finding the funds to allow that program to continue and to expand to the other programs.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Just a couple questions from the audience. Roger, I'm going to stick with you real quickly. There's a couple of Youth Challenge ones. One, how does a student get into Youth Challenge? And then 2, do the graduates earn a high school diploma or a GED, or what do they get when they get out?
Great questions. Thank you. They must be between the ages of 16 and 18 years old. They cannot have committed a felony. And the most important qualification, they must want to succeed. They must want to change. What was the second part of that question?
What do they get when they graduate?
Yes. The program started 25 years ago. The program started as a GED program. And as time went on, we realized that a GED was insufficient. And so we've transitioned, with the help of the governor's wife, about 5-6 years ago to a GED/high school program. And now they can get a GED or a high school diploma, as well as vocational degree as well. And for the recent class that's at the Fort Stewart campus, we have about 230 individuals in the program. Only 30 are in the GED program. 200 are in the high school program. And I told my instructors, I better get me at least 175 high school diplomas out of that 200. And if they don't finish, they can come back for 5 more months down the street with the Job Challenge and finish up there, or they can stay in a relationship with Foothills Charter School and complete their high school diploma at home.
Yep. And just for those of you who are not familiar, Foothills Charter School is one of our statewide charter schools that has partnered with Youth Challenge to be able to deliver that high school diploma portion of that. So yes. It's a good example of 2 different agencies, 2 different institutions working together. A couple of questions about career academies. I'll answer one, and then Brian, I'm going to get you to answer the other one. The governance model for college and career academies. Those around the state are really representative of partnerships between the local K-12 district, their post-secondary partners, which definitely include their local technical college component, and their business and industry. The governance model really depends on what's going on, because at heart they are K-12 entities. So if it could be a standalone charter school, it could be part of If a local school district is a charter district, it's a part of that charter. If it's the other option from a flexibility standpoint that the state DOE offers is a strategic waivers contract, it can be a part of that. So from that perspective, it fits in all three of those models. But what each and every one of them have from a governance standpoint is an advisory board, governing board, whatever you want to call it, that is primarily made up of local business and industry folks with representation from the various other secondary and post-secondary partners. The point of that is for that group to be the outward-facing eye, so to speak, to make sure that those internships and externships are available to the students, that the opportunities to make sure the programs that are being taught in the Career Academy are connected to local business and industry. That's really what that board's function is, and so that looks slightly different in every community, depending on whether maybe it's a single high school district who's transforming their current high school, or maybe it's a district that has 5 or 6 high schools and they're using a shared services model. So those pieces all kind of work together. The other part of that question, Brian, was how are local businesses shaping the career academies? And so what would your thoughts be on how Shaw helps shape what goes on with the 4 or 5 that you work with?
Well, great question. We spend a lot of time talking about the curriculum that's provided. For example, we bring a business mindset to education, which sometimes that means we ask dumb questions, sometimes that means we challenge things and shake things up. But several years ago, we looked at our curriculum in the one in Whitfield, for example, and we had a great cosmetology program. And nothing wrong with cosmetology. We had a great teacher, we had an amazing lab, we had high enrollment. It was one of the most popular programs in our Career Academy. But when we looked at the job needs in our community, there were very few job needs for that skill set. Plus, we also had 2 community cosmetology schools that were available where students could also go for free. So we felt like we were duplicating services. We felt like we could repurpose that lab and that position and some of that funding into some other needs that were going unmet. So we kind of bring a strategic focus to looking at those types of things. Certainly, we help fundraise for some of the priorities that need to be met. We help bring in talent. A lot of our career academies are charter schools, and so we have flexibility in hiring. We can bring in someone that has industry experience. Most of our teachers have industry experience. They may or may not be a Georgia certified teacher with a teaching degree, but they have industry experience. They're a subject matter expert in their field, which is exciting for us because they know what they're talking about. And so we may have to help them learn how to be a teacher. But so there's a lot of those resources that we can bring to the table. But it's important for that business influence, I think, to partner with those education leaders. We have college and career academies all have a CEO that heads up the school. And so we work on strategic plans. We look at what curriculums are needed now and in the future. All those types of strategic things, just like you would in business, we bring it to that education model.
Thank you, Brian. That kind of brings us to where we are. What I'll leave you with is, without a doubt, the kinds of business and community input that Brian is doing is happening or can be happening in your community. The kinds of students that Roger and Youth Challenge Academy are helping are in your community and need the same kind of help, and so please do that. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here, and thank you all for hanging in with us this afternoon.
Nice to meet you. Keep up the great work. Thank you.